Big changes are coming, and the WoW development team are attempting to address some long-standing issues with Mythic Plus. But did they succeed? Hey everyone, Two Angry Frogs here to help you understand what these changes mean and how it impacts your Mythic Plus experience. We'll look at what the dev team are trying to address and assess whether the changes they made hit the mark. But before we begin, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you always know what we're up to next. And thank you to everyone for your support. Now, let's get into it. The WoW development team identified 3 Mythic dungeon issues they were looking to address based on community feedback. First, at maximum level, heroic dungeons are not much different than normal dungeons. Second, players rarely run Mythic 0 dungeons once the Mythic Plus season starts. And finally, because of the timer, Mythic Plus dungeons are all about finishing quickly, ignoring players who like to take their time with in-game content. So what is the dev team's approach to address these issues? The first major update they have made is how the dungeon levels are distributed, as shown in the dungeon progression update graphic that they gave us. There will be no change to normal level dungeons. Heroic dungeon difficulty will be roughly the same as Mythic 0 in prior seasons. Season 4 Mythic 0 dungeons will be roughly the same as prior season Mythic Plus 10 dungeons. For Mythic 0, there are no timers, affixes, or limitations on changing specializations or talents while in the dungeon. But Mythic 0 will still be on a weekly lockout, so you can only receive loot from each boss once per week. For Mythic Plus 2 and above, it's roughly the same as prior season dungeons 9 to 10 levels higher. So a season 4 plus 5 would be roughly the same as a previous plus 15, and a plus 10 would be roughly the same as a plus 20, and so on. The second major update is when affixes are slotted into Mythic dungeons. Under the new model, affixes will be added at keystone levels plus 2, plus 5, and plus 10. This should be a net gain for players since the last set of affixes will come in much later than in prior seasons. Affixes will remain unchanged from Season 3. So at level 2 we have Tyrannical and Fortified. At level 5 we have Entangling, Afflicted, and Corporal, Volcanic, and Storming. And at level 10 we have Spiteful, Raging, Bursting, Bolstering, and Sanguine. The next major update is in how crests will be rewarded to match the Mythic level adjustments. Whelpling crests are no longer rewarded from Mythic Plus dungeons, as those difficulties no longer exist. Players can continue to collect Whelpling crests from many outdoor sources and world content. Players will earn 10 Drake crests on successful completion of a Mythic 0 dungeon. Worm's crests will be rewarded for Mythic plus 2 to plus 5 dungeons, and Aspect crests will be rewarded for Mythic difficulty plus 6 and above. So what is not changing? For Flight Stones, there are no changes. The same number of Flight Stones and any bonuses awarded in Season 4 are equivalent to the adjusted dungeon levels from Season 3. There are also no changes to how Mythic Plus ratings are calculated. Dungeon ratings will be equivalent to what they represent in the current Mythic Plus system, and the scores required for seasonal achievements and rewards remain the same as before. So Season 4 follows a similar pattern as past Mythic Plus seasons. The achievement Keystone Explorer requires completing a Mythic Plus dungeon within the time limit. Keystone Conqueror requires Mythic Plus rating of at least 1500 and rewards the title The Draconic. And Keystone Master requires a rating of at least 2000 and rewards the Infinite Armoredin mount. Before we dive into our thoughts of the Mythic Plus updates, let's quickly look at the Season 4 dungeon pool. The Dragonflight Season 4 dungeon pool takes us back to the beginning and marks the first time in the expansion we will have the original 8 Dragonflight dungeons in the pool. The 8 dungeons include Algathar Academy, Brackenhide Hollow, Halls of Infusion, Neltharis, Ruby Life Pools, the Azure Vault, the Noku Defensive, and Oldemon Legacy of Tyr. In addition, we will also see a hard mode Dawn of the Infinite dungeon that will be thrown in on a rotation. So did the WoW dev team address the Mythic Plus issues that they identified? For the most part they did, and there are a lot of great changes in Season 4. The one area where I think they could have gone farther is when it comes to the issue of dungeon timers. In our prior Mythic Plus video, we talked about timers driving everyone to complete the dungeon as rapidly as possible and not leaving much room for group interaction. I personally would like to see the option to remove timers from all dungeons levels plus 2 to plus 10. The team could add an option in the Dungeon Group Finder interface to run keys with or without a timer, leaving affixes as planned for +2, +5, and +10 keystones. To offset this, dungeons run without a timer could reward a lower Mythic Plus score than those run with a timer. This could also be offset by lowering the gear item level reward for dungeons run with no timer. This would at least give players the option of no timers if that is what they choose. I think this could go a lot further in getting players into Mythic Plus and provide an environment that is not strictly competitive. So what do you think? Are the changes good? Bad? Doesn't really matter? Let us know what you think down below in the comments, and everyone, have a great day.